Everyone, so I'm shooting up and I'm gonna do that first. And I have a macaroni and cheese band-aid. Um, but I also got this book. I may or may not return it. It's by the right wing, um, the far right, actually, Trumpers. And I like to read everyone so that I can know what they're thinking. Uh, I've read Ayn Rand, Virtue of Selfishness, and I ripped it in half. I think that Ayn Rand makes really good points for half of the book in a way that could be construed as selfishness, as the Dalai Lama says, which is actually selfishness to the point of selflessness, because when the self becomes the whole, selfishness actually becomes good and selfless. Um, but Ayn Rand misses that, so I ripped it in half. This isn't even worth ripping in half because it is um, full of hatred and and ignorance. But it's still worthy of not bashing and reading so that we can learn what the other side is thinking and better learn how to teach them the right shit. So that is why I read it. We'll see where I get. But first, I gotta shoot up. So I'm gonna do that first. And then we'll go over this book. I just skimmed it, but I think skimming's enough considering there's not much text in the book. And it has headers everywhere for their jokes. So, I mean, I can show you the inside of the book a little bit. It's pretty easy. It's an easy skimmer. Bam, bam, bam. We did it. Okay. Now, I don't put this part in there. One time someone asked that on Instagram and I answered them. I didn't know if it was the right answer, but I said I don't put this part in there because it didn't shoot up with this part. Well, I did, but like, it's not a biohazard and I need space in my needle collection. So, in case you were wondering about what to do with this part, Kurt says to throw it away. Um, anyway, that's my opinion on it. I don't know if it's the right opinion, but it's Kurt's. So I read this book, and just a quick summary of this book is: one, it compares the far left to Nazis. Antifa equals Nazis. Two, they love MLK, but like they label him a white supremacist because they think that that's how the left would label him. Um, White supremacist in Comic Sans. Because MLK, they think, would not support the Black Lives Matter movement because the Black Lives Matter movement is just a looting business, pretty much, is what they say in this. Um, I think that MLK would love the Black Lives Matter movement. MLK was of the opinion that you should bash the United States so long as the United States needs to be bashed in order to reform. He thought that it was a act of love of America in order to tell America what she was doing wrong in order to fix it. I think that that's what the Black Lives Matter movement is doing. Um, they also are of the opinion in this book that everyone that's on the far left is essentially just asking for government handouts and does not want to work. I find it really interesting that people on the far right think that corporate CEOs and other people work so hard and deserve all of the money that they have and are given and all of their riches, but the guy that's working 3 jobs just to make it work and needs government assistance on top of that because the 3 jobs are just paying him minimum wage and he has a family that he has to take care of, or she, um, it doesn't isn't working hard and doesn't deserve government assistance. Um, I find that really interesting, just from a sociological perspective, that if someone that is, I mean, most top executives are cishet white men. I don't know why, but most of them end up being the ones that are in education systems. I don't know why. Um, and then because of that, they have the certificate that allows them to become top leading executives. So, I mean, you do understand how that creates a disparity that we must close. Because no matter how much the black man works, he can never catch up to the white man if the only opportunities available to him are shitty fucking minimum wage jobs that he has to work back to back to back. It says in this book that people should take responsibility for their own life and see that what happens to them is a direct result of the actions that they took before them. I feel like white people of the far right, or all people of the far right, no matter what your skin color is, need to realize that if we go back, even pre-birth, those causes lead to effects in the person's life. We built our economy on the backs of black people that we took from their homeland, then set them free without giving them reparations or land, forcing them to work for us for minimum wage, shitty fucking labor jobs. Denied them equal institutions for education, etc. Wrote our education in the white man language so it would be more difficult for them to pursue higher education opportunities. So yes, I think that black people, by saying we don't have the same opportunities that you have as white folks, is taking charge of their destinies, is taking charge of the causes that brought them here, and is the only way for them to take charge in their life in a way that is meaningful and can get them out of the hands of the oppressor. So I think we're on the same page. Causes, cause effects, which get you to shitty places, and to be in a place where you're loving of America, you need to be able to point this out. Okay, other topics that are covered in this book, of course, they go over gender. Um, there's a whole part in here where they make fun of genders by just listing all of the genders, and it's literally not regular genders. They have pi in here and male squared. But these two at the end, trans daddy and tree queer, I identify with both of those. That's spot on, guys. Like, trans daddy, that is me. Now when people ask me my gender, I'm just gonna be like, I'm trans daddy and tree queer. Welcome to my world. I kind of agree with you. I don't really understand what the fuck is going on with gender and sex. I think it's really funny that you call it biological sex, uh, but you only allow the two biological sexes to be cis female and cis male, and I have to identify as either one of those. My body is necessarily the same body as a cis female, but in me, it's a trans male. Um, so because my body belongs to me, it's necessarily male. It doesn't look like a cis male body because it's a trans male body, but it's still a male body because I'm in it and I'm male. Okay, as far as genders, I would say I mostly identify as non binary because I don't believe that gender roles actually exist. And if you can define your terms, I think you'd realize that the majority of the people are non binary. But I still need access to my meds because I am a male and cannot produce testosterone on my own. I don't think you're gonna ever get that until you get what transness is, which is outside of your conception, because we don't currently have the language in order to describe transness because no one defined gender and sex in scientific terms outside of using male and female, and because of that, we're living in a reality where transness cannot be aptly defined using language, and the only way to understand something that is outside of your bounds of experience is with language, and because I cannot describe my experience in a way that makes logical sense to your experience as a cis person without contradicting your experience. Instead of understanding it, you're afraid of it, and it scares you, and it ruins your identity because if a trans male is identifying as the only thing that you take claim to in order to define yourself, it ruins your fucking ego. So really, your hatred of trans people is all due to your inability to identify yourself as a distinct entity outside of the societal consciousness. And because of that, and because you'd rather have a society that defines males in the same way that you are, you cannot allow transness into your society. And I do understand that there's lots of different genders that people are identifying as now, and it's hard to keep up, but that's just because there's lots of different types of people. And we're all trying to identify ourselves in ways that expand what society has traditionally allowed us to identify as. Also, the far left is not Nazis. I think it's really funny that the far left calls the far right Nazis, the far right calls the far left Nazis. Nazis are fascists, so technically the far left would be right. But I just think neither of us are Nazis. Except the far right contains Nazis. They're in your group, man. I think sometimes when you're in a political party that contains the Nazis, you need to rethink what you're putting into your political party. Just a thought. Just a thought. But you can't compare the far left to Nazis when you got the Nazis in your group meetings. Okay? So the only people that are Nazis are the Nazis. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, but just like, other than that, they're Christian, the people that wrote this book, and they think that the far left's trying to eradicate religion. Maybe, but really I think some people the far left are starting to realize that religion's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that the organized religion got in control of the wrong hands and was distorted to be something that it isn't necessarily. I think that religion and science can work together. I think that we can't deny either without reconciling the two. But that's my quick thoughts on religion. That's my quick thoughts on this book. Have a good Sunday. I hope it's wonderful. Bye.